Brett, did you say got it?
I
Did you
got
agree to
it.
the
Let's
recording?
go, baby. Yeah.
You got it? We got it?
I got it.
All right. What's up, buds? And welcome to a new episode of the Earbuds Podcast, the podcast where two friends talk about one album for many, many minutes. I am one of your hosts, Lucas Ruth Bader Winsberg Inverkovs, and I got here with me Brett Chill Clinton Hanrahan. Brett, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. Love all the political puns that you got this week.
I mean, Chill Clinton, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. When I thought of that one, I was like, where's the laugh track? What number is that over here?
Where's my applause?
Where's my goddamn laugh track? Oh, we're not even playing it. It's all falling apart, Brett. It's all falling apart. It's okay though, because we are going to be talking about thank you. Oh, see, that's when you know it's a good joke, when it takes a little bit to land.
It sinks in,
sink in,
for a little bit.
Yeah, it's layered. It's like a parfait of jokes.
Yeah, it's like when your fucking favorite comedian goes on. Who's that old guy that just complains all the time? George Carlin.
Seinfeld. Oh, George Carlin. Yes.
Yeah. He tells a joke and he'll just tell the joke, and for 2 minutes he'll just stand there, let the audience kind of get it together.
What a way to reduce a fucking comedy legend like George Carlin to the old guy that complains about stuff.
Dude, if it's I only watched one special by him, and that is the only fucking thing he did that entire special.
We can't start this conversation right now. He's one of my all-time favorite comedians. Brett, we need to talk about the album that we're here to talk about today, which is an album that I brought to the show. And it's by a band called The Exploding Hearts. The album is called Modern Romantic. Brett.
Guitar Romantic?
Guitar Romantic.
All right.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Real quick.
How much do you like this album?
Real quick. I love this album, but I chugged a can of rosé before I came to the studio.
Okay.
And,
all right. And you want to brag too.
And I'm right. That I have canned rosé in your face, Brett. I'm also drinking a tall boy of some very strong IPA, and my good friend JC poured me a shot of Johnny Walker when I walked in here. So
you're just getting the fucking treatment over there.
Yeah,
you're VIP. Look at you.
I'm half off the wagon. I don't know if canned rosé can be VIP treatment, but the Johnny Walker definitely is. But yeah, Guitar Romantic. I loved this album the first time I heard it, and I still love it to this fucking day. And you've never heard these guys before, right? Like you never even heard the name before?
No, I'd never heard their name, which is interesting because they seem to be a bigger deal than I thought. When you brought them up, I felt like, oh, is that like a band we played with? Or
right. That's what I mean. Like, it's interesting. Okay, so we might as well get this out of the way right now. The band has a pretty tragic story. After this record came out, they were on their way. They were like on their way up the ranks, playing bigger and bigger shows right before this album came out, which is 2003. So almost 20 years ago. After one of their shows in San Francisco, they were driving back home to Portland, and they got into a car accident. Two guys from the band, the singer Adam and the drummer Jeremy, actually died on the scene, and the band's obviously called it quits after that. So RIP to Adam and Jeremy. And you know what's crazy is that this album came out almost 20 years ago, and even 20 years later, you know, obviously it has its faults, but they wrote a really fantastic like pop punk power pop album. And I'm so glad to see that a band that only has one album, that were just starting to come up in their scene, you know, on the West Coast, they barely even go on tour to promote this album, and they still have like over 24,000 Spotify monthly listeners, like almost 20 years after this album came out. Like that shows you just how big these dudes could have been.
Yeah, and you can kind of see their influence even to this day. Dune Rats just released a record that sounds a lot like this.
Oh my God, yes, you know? Dude. And you can hear a lot of influence from where they came from too, right? Like there's so much obvious things that you could point back to this band.
Well, it's like, almost like a 70s revival record.
Totally. Like this is, I mean, it's pretty much like it is a solid power pop album, right? With elements of new wave, sometimes elements of like pop punk sometimes. But I mean, you listen to these guys. I'm reading a book right now. It's kind of I think it's called like the unofficial autobiography of punk rock or something like that. It's called Please Kill Me.
Hmm.
And it's an amazing book that I'm only like, it's like 600 pages. I'm only halfway through it. And it's literally the history of punk rock told through like snippets of interviews by people who were there on the scene. So we're talking about like David Bowie, all the Ramones, you know, Iggy Pop, all the people that were in the Stooges, all the people in New York Dolls, like this scene, this like huge scene. So you listen,
Right.
it's awesome, like having to listen to this album, which is such a throwback to all that music, and also reading that book at the same time. And I'm just like, this is such a great soundtrack for reading. Please
I'll
Kill Me.
I'll bet. I mean, it's extremely reminiscent of old bands like in that exact scene you were talking about, like the Clash and
Totally.
New York Dolls
I mean, the
for sure.
Ramones, hardcore. The Ramones and New York Dolls for me, hardcore, because all those guys were basically doing kind of like what the Misfits were doing, right? Was like bringing back 50s rock and roll, which was like
Yeah.
basically pop
Right.
music by the time the 70s were around, right? And it just played it faster and had distorted guitars, and that was basically it. Like
Got a little fuzzier, a little crunchier.
they put a little mustard on it, you know.
And they put a little lot of mustard, I'd say, on the guitar work, especially throughout this entire album.
Dude, I am so glad you called that out, because they have some really good guitar work on this album.
That's it. You know, it makes sense that the album is called Guitar Romantic instead of
Right.
something like Modern Romantic or whatever.
It's a guitarist
Because
record, right? Like
it's a very guitarist record.
yes,
It's
for sure.
stuff that, like, if a little faster and more distorted, could have been, like, I imagine some metal riffs. Like, put
Yeah,
it in a minor key or something.
for sure, for sure.
It's
And I think the singer Adam and plays guitar, and they have another guitarist too. And I love the work between the two guitars. I think it's so
yeah,
good. All the different parts that they do between the two, where like one of them is playing these little licky parts and the other one's just keeping that rhythm going. But there are songs like on Modern Kicks, that first song like that of the record, that it's like that back and forth between the two. They really show off like how good they are at doing that.
yeah. And there's nary a song on this record that doesn't implement at least a couple riffs throughout the song.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There might not even be one song where there's not a riff happening every 30 seconds.
yeah. This is like riff salad for sure, dude. I mean, and nary. I'm just glad you used that word. That's the word of the week.
Oh
Nary.
wow. I fucking get your paycheck this week,
Wait.
right?
Oh, the fucking intern fucked up again.
Oh.
The intern's never there with his cues. Hired this guy months ago. He barely shows up to work. Sometimes
I'm gonna need to take a 20-minute break in my trailer real quick, and then we can get back to it.
I came in too loud now. That's just
Yeah, well. Here's the thing.
I'm looking at that button. I know which button to press now.
I just so you know, I hear none of the buttons y'all are hitting. I have no idea what you're talking
Oh,
about.
for real? Oh, well, the audience is gonna love it. This isn't for you, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, well,
Not for your
the
benefit.
amount of times I've heard that before.
But yeah, man, you call it like a lot of this music is deceptively really simple, you know, but they do it so well that even if it is really simple, it's so good that I don't mind how straightforward a lot of these songs are.
Well, let me kind of rotate this flat square
I knew
into a
eventually.
3D cube.
I knew eventually. All right, this is where I take a sip of my.
Let me
Johnny
go
Walker
ahead
now. I'm
and
gonna
give
need
this
this.
conversation a little more depth by saying I do not like this album.
Oh no!
The
I
guitar
thought you were
work
gonna love this.
The guitar work is my favorite thing about the album. It's really iconic the whole time. I think they might even do it a little too much, but it always leaves something you can listen to in the music, if nothing else is grabbing your attention, which for me, nothing else does.
Oh, God. Now, let me just let this settle in. Just give me.
Let the whiskey settle in a little bit before you.
Let me take another sip of the whiskey.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take a little sip of my Flat Rainier, sponsored by the great state of Seattle. Thank you very much. An official podcast.
I really thought Brett was gonna like this album. I was actually really excited to hear his reaction because I thought, this was right up his alley.
No,
How
no,
catchy
no,
all this
sir, no,
was.
sir. You're living in a dream
Yeah,
world
like
with a
I
dream,
know,
Brett.
the production isn't the best thing ever, and I'm sure that's probably your biggest
The
complaint.
production is interesting because it does harken back to the 70s era production while
Yeah,
maintaining a kind of modern sound about it, which is what this album is a lot of. It's a lot of being that 70s soda pop fucking barbershop music with a little modern twist on it. Maybe
yeah.
not enough of a modern twist on it to keep me interested.
You thought this sounded dated,
Yes,
really?
I think it sounds dated.
I
There
thought
are
they're a
bands.
combination of new wave and that kind of 70s punk and kind of glam punk a little bit and all. I thought all combining like three different generations of punk music, I thought was going to get you.
Man, I it in theory I think it should have. In
Should have.
theory, the combination of the power pop of the 70s with the modern kind of music work that's going on in this album, very
Yeah.
catchy tunes, catchy
Yeah.
choruses and lyrics, would get me, but it all I feel like they didn't go far enough with any modern stuff. Like they were a little
Hmm.
too stuck in the old era and old vibes. Every single song I imagined a couple, like greased looking people dancing in the soda bar.
Yes, for sure.
And
Yeah.
honestly, I'm not really into
Are you not
that
into the
kind of
50s, Brett?
I'm not into the 50s,
You're telling me you
unfortunately.
don't like Grease?
I love bands like Fiddler that will kind of take
Mm.
this sound and
But
push
you
it
could
up to the
you
edge.
could say that Fiddler's arguably doing like more 60s surf rock than 50s like doo-wop stuff.
I mean, I'd
You
say
love
it's
the Misfits. Like what's the difference between the Misfits and uh Exploding Hearts?
I
Break that
mean,
down to me because they're basically doing the same thing, and the singer of the Exploding Hearts has a better voice in my opinion than Danzig, and I think weirdly enough that's my only complaint about this record, because I got to be honest about it, is that the production is fucking horseshit. It's horrible. It's awful production throughout the whole record.
I honestly didn't mind the production that much.
Really? I thought that was gonna be your only
We're having
complaint.
two whole
What? Like
different.
you're just breaking
Are you sure we listened to the same record, the same
expectations.
version of this record?
Yeah, I double checked because there was actually for years there was multiple versions of this record. Like I didn't get into this. I didn't find this album until like 2015, 2016, around that time, when I was
Mm,
like just starting to get into garage rock for the first
yeah.
time. So I'd heard like King Gizzard for the first time, and then I started dipping back into you know what? It might have been a little bit later when after I met you.
Oh,
Because
really?
you're the one that got me to listen to the Stooges for the first time. Like
Hell yeah.
these guys came up on my Spotify after I listened to the Stooges. So you like the Stooges?
Yeah,
You're
I
a
love
fan of the
this.
Stooges.
I mean, the Stooges are fucking raw, dude.
Yeah. So
These
what is
guys
not
are these guys are
too
fuzzy. Their
poppy? Is
production
it too poppy? Is it too happy for you?
it might be a little too poppy. It might just be that it's like there are eclectic guitars through the whole thing. There's definitely a fuzzy sound on this,
Yes.
and it's not like I would say that songs are not energetic, but to me they got no balls on them at all. Like they got no heart or like emotions or energy to them, really.
Coming from the guy who made me listen to Max Frost,
Max Frost is a
complaining that
fucking
a band
pop
has no
group.
balls on
That's a
them.
whole. They don't need balls. All right, they're not a fucking punk band.
He's a eunuch.
A fucking what?
I'm just saying, Max Frost, if he has no balls, I mean, I think he's beyond no balls. I think his music is.
Are you characterizing the band, the
Almost
three
said
members of
euthanized.
Max Frost, as one single person?
I assume Max Frost was one dude.
I mean, maybe he is, and he's pulling the strings behind the whole operation.
It's funny that you mentioned that this album has no balls, because I didn't think about it in the moment. I listened to this album obviously a few times. It didn't get better for you or worse for you as I listened to it a few times.
Um, I think I about got what the record was going to be after the first two or three songs.
Sure.
You know, and
Yeah.
the whole vibe doesn't change. The production doesn't change at all or anything. There's not a lot of twists and turns. It mainly bases itself on catchy vocals, riffing guitars, and kind of not upbeat energy, but you know what like an
No,
active kind of
mid-tempo.
dancey
Yeah. Yeah.
like vibe.
I mean, yeah, I totally agree on all those points where it's like it doesn't have any balls because especially I didn't think about it until you just said that. Guess what album I listened to immediately after I listened to Modern Romantic or Guitar Romantic today? I keep
What?
thinking Modern Kicks. It's because the first song is called Modern Kicks. It's fucking
Modern Kicks.
it's so good.
What did you listen to, man?
Fucking Infest the Rat's Nest by King Gizzard
Oh,
immediately
oh my
after
god! You know how
today.
many
So
times I've wanted to re-review
yeah,
that
dude.
album
How did I know you were
just to
going to
listen
say that?
to it again?
How did I know you
Oh
were
my
going to
god!
say that, dude? I was thinking about that today. Again, right after this album ended, I was like, man, I want to listen to something aggressive, right? And the first thing that came to mind was King Gizzard. And then
Yeah.
I kind of went through their shit and I almost went with Murder of the Universe. And then I fucking settled on Infest the Rat's Nest and it just scratched such an itch.
Ugh,
I needed scratched, man. And I didn't realize it until you just said it that I'm like, wow, you're right. This album doesn't have any balls at all.
and I honestly, I don't think
But
that's
Powerpuff has no
necessarily.
balls, right?
It's a Powerpuff album mainly with punk vibes on it. I don't think it
Right.
needs to have balls, but
Right.
the version of this music that I personally enjoy has a little more kick to it, a little more attitude, a little more aggressiveness, and is like a little more raw.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I totally fuck, man. I agree. I agree with you.
Oh,
It's not going to change my rating, but
okay, good.
I'm starting to understand why you don't like it, which I'm still really surprised about. I'm very surprised you don't like this album because, in my opinion, every single song is very catchy, and I thought that would get you first of all. I also,
It's
well, go ahead, go ahead.
That's absolutely not wrong. Every single song is super catchy, gets stuck in your head. I think they're all catchy in the same way, though.
They
And they
absolutely
all
are,
take the same exact approach to every single song.
definitely.
There are going to be probably 2 or 3 songs that I'll come back to when I'm in the mood for something like this, but I don't think I'm ever going to listen to the album as a whole again, even though it's a nice, quaint, like half hour,
Quaint.
like 10 song listen.
Yeah, it's homely. It's a
It's
homely 28
humble.
minutes. It's a
It's
humble 28 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. And there are definitely moments that the band is kind of sloppy at times, but again, this is their only album that they ever put out, so I kind of give them a pass a little bit
sure. Yeah.
on that, but I got to say Adam Cox's vocals are fucking perfect for this music too.
Are like he sounds British. He sounds like he was the
Yes.
singer for Sex Pistols or
It sounds like
something.
he's doing a British thing, right? Which I know we gave the Interrupters shit about that, where she was
Well, that was a whole other
like a
thing.
bird on a wire,
That's
something on fire.
I'm
Oh
a
my God,
little I'm a
so
little
cringy.
cooler with someone just pretending to be British for
So
whatever reason they would want to be British.
well, it's like a lot of British people when they sing, they used to do American accents back in the day because they didn't want to sound British. They wanted to be accessible and
Like Geddy Lee
Geddy Lee, does he have a thick
and David
fucking
Bowie.
Montreal accent?
Got a nice thick California accent
Who,
is
Geddy
kind of
Lee?
what I read from. Yeah, Geddy Lee like David Bowie.
Oh, they were trying to
Um
do California accents, is what you're saying.
they were from California, I believe.
Right. So
Yeah.
they were trying really hard to sound British, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I got the
See, now you're getting into conspiracy.
you gotta make those jokes before I chug a fucking can of rosé.
What's that can, baby?
Shout
Share
out,
with the audience, baby.
dude, the can I'm drinking right now. Shout out fucking Voodoo Ranger, a pretty classic.
A Voodoo Ranger rosé?
No. The rosé was like it was like oh high or something. It was a
Okay.
pink can of whatever. But what I'm drinking right now is Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA.
Juicy haze.
Shout out New Belgium. That's the brewery, and they're Voodoo Ranger. It's a pretty well known thing, and I'm drinking Johnny Walker Black, I believe, Black Label.
You sound absolutely destroyed right now, man. Are you all right? I feel like I shat on your fucking dreams right now.
Yeah, I didn't expect the conversation to go this way. I thought you were gonna be right parallel to me of just like every song's a banger. It's all super catchy. The guitar works great, but the production kind of sucks. And honestly, the production's not just sucks, it's pretty bad on some of the songs. So I thought that was going to be your only
I
complaints.
I thought there were some. I thought maybe the toms were a little loud, but he rarely ever hit them, and sometimes some panning decisions were a little odd. But aside from
Yeah,
that,
but the drummer was pretty
I
good.
liked the tone of the
Okay,
production.
okay, and I thought the drummer did pretty well for what he was doing.
Yeah, he's like not like showing off or anything, doing his fucking job, just staying in the back, keeping it together. That shit
You
that
know,
I do love.
he only got off beat a couple of times, which is with any good drummer.
Well, hey,
Like, come on.
with any punk influence type shit, you gotta free ball it, baby.
Well, buddies, something we forgot to mention in the beginning of the episode is after we like to go through the record and break Lucas's heart, as Brett likes to do on so many of these episodes, we also like to kind of break down our two favorite songs on the record. Brett,
What's Hey,
even though,
what's your favorite type of flower? I'll send you a little bouquet.
okay, well,
What's your
first
favorite
send me
type?
the world's smallest violin
All
to
right.
play while I look at the flowers. I like a good
Violet.
honeysuckle.
Honeysuckle.
Send me a honeysuckle. Send me a bouquet
All
of
right.
honeysuckles.
Bouquet, honeysuckles. I will get Voodoo Ranger to pay for that.
Get a periwinkles in there too.
Oh, periwinkles. That's
Yeah.
important.
Anything with 4 syllables is my favorite flowers. Honeysuckle, periwinkle,
Fucking rose.
and rose,
Ho 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 hos.
rose, circle.
Blue bonnets. Let's get into
All right.
Narnugs.
Thing we like to do, we quicker. You call them Narnugs, I call them Choice Nugs, but it's our two favorite songs on the record, Brett. So, what are your two Nar Choice Nugs, my dude? Give me the first one. Don't spoil the second one already.
Fine. So be it. I'll give you the first one.
You didn't like this record.
I didn't like this record.
Right,
I thought
so
it was.
Let's lead into this fucking, your choices with that in mind, because anyone like me who's a Exploding Hearts stan, they're probably not going to agree with you. But you can go ahead.
Okay. Well, my first choicey is gonna be Sleeping Aids and Band-Aids, because I liked the kind of swingy feel on it.
Sweeping Aids and Razor Blades, by the way. I got the album wrong. You got the song wrong. It's okay.
Oh. Why did I put Band-Aids in my notes?
Because you dislike this record so much, you give it no goddamn respect.
You don't want to look at my notes right now, dude. You don't want to see what I wrote down, what I didn't write down.
But your choice, so you said your choice. So Sleeping Aids and Razor Blades is one of your choice nugs, but choice nugs means it's one of your favorite songs on the record, right?
Yes, it is one of my favorite songs on the record.
Okay.
Again, I love that swingy feel. It's got some catchy little riff tidbits
super catchy
in there that I like.
I wrote down, is there a more catchy guitar part? No. I'm almost like a mother at that point. Like, is there a catchier guitar part? I don't think my kid could have done a better job. I don't think anyone's can do better than me.
I think it's probably My Kid is the best one.
Yeah. And the melody is so fun to sing along with. It's very 50s, right? And I love their version of like 50s pop music. It's great.
Yeah, it's something you could definitely grab someone's arm and do that fucking finger dance too.
Oh, sure. Where you're holding one hand.
Yeah, and you're just kind of like, yeah.
I think that's more jazz era than anything else. You're talking.
Wait, well, it's 2003, so things have changed.
That's true.
We could do these little dances now, Lucas. It's okay.
Well, Sleeping Aids and Razor Blades was one of my honorable mentions, but it's not one of my favorite songs. And to be totally, let me just be 100% transparent here. Every song on this is an honorable mention for me.
Wow.
Except your Black and Blue. That's my least favorite song on the record. I think it's kind of boring. But
yeah, I agree.
That's okay. I would say my first choice, Nug, my first favorite song is the opener, man. Modern Kicks.
Get the modern kicks. It's a great intro. It shows you exactly
Great
what's
intro.
going on.
Great
that
intro.
riff,
Yes.
band comes in. Classic.
Great opener. It's super catchy. It's kind of bratty and snotty, but it's just really good guitar work. They kind of show off that call and response that the guitars can do.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
dude, if I don't know, Adam while he's singing is playing guitar. If he can do that, it makes me shiver, it makes me shake, and they're doing that back, like it's RX Bandits does that sometimes, right? Where it's like the guitar that's pan left will play, and they'll go back and forth with the right and the left, and they do it. Well. If Adam was doing that while he was singing, and that makes it even more impressive to me.
I think the only other band I've seen do guitar work like this is Block Party.
Yes, for sure. I was never 100% sure if Block Party had two guitars or not.
Yeah, sometimes it sounds so in sync that it could be one, and I've seen people play it with one, but it's tough shit. You could not play this album with one guitar.
No,
you would need at least two, if not three,
at least
to make it easier for people.
But there've been a few, honestly, there've been a few bands that have surprised me that they only have one guitarist when I think they gotta have two.
Really?
The first one that comes to mind is Pantera.
Yeah.
Straight up, like Dimebag straight up sounds like he's two people at once sometimes. But what I thought was really cool about Pantera, and I didn't notice it until I learned that they only had one guitarist, was that they wanted their live shows to sound so as close as possible to their album recordings, to the studio recordings, that even in the studio, Dimebag didn't play the rhythm guitar part during guitar solos. Like he would only play his solo.
Yeah, right.
Just the bass playing. And I hadn't noticed that for the longest time.
That's something that a lot of bands kind of make a decision on. I know we kind of talked about that a couple times, and I think very few bands pull that method off, but
agree.
I mean, Pantera seem to be able to do it well. Huh?
Does Rush do that? Because
Rush definitely has like overdub guitars.
They have a rhythm guitar going, right? So that means when they play live, they need some dude. It's kind of like Green Day. I remember one time I noticed that, like, I saw Green Day live and they had some fucking guy standing there playing rhythm guitar, and I was like, who the fuck is this dude?
There'll be times when Billy Joel just gets off guitar and just takes the mic, and he's just like a front man now.
That's true. And almost every show I've been to, I've probably seen Green Day like 3 or 4 times, and every show they pull someone out of the crowd to play.
Well, yeah, sure. That's definitely a big thing they love to do.
Yeah. But I would say the only other band I could think of that really surprised me that they only had one guitarist was Van Halen.
Well, sure. Yeah.
But I mean,
Eddie's on just a fucking legend, and I don't think anyone can contest that.
But I don't remember. Have you listened to enough Van Halen to know for sure if they like overdub their shit?
I listened to the first album a lot. I think I listened to the third. Which one is the one with like the angel with the cigarette?
You're asking the wrong person. This is an era that I did not listen to at all. I played Eruption, the intro to Eruption. I played at many guitar centers, but that was about it. I was that guy, and I was like 13, 14. And even now,
it's okay. You've recovered, right?
even now, it sounds
you've grown up.
Fucking douchey brag that I'm like, I was 14 playing Eruption. Play the intro to Eruption.
Yeah, I learned hammer-ons pretty quick in my guitar career.
Yeah,
could play fucking Thunderstruck.
I changed. I perfected it. Really, the intro to Eruption.
Kind of like almost better than Van Halen. Really,
I chiseled it.
Yeah,
like a piece of marble. But
yeah. Let's get to the second nug, huh?
Let's get to my second favorite song. You're gonna go after me because I like this album more than you.
I guess it makes sense to someone.
To me, it does. I was like, because I love how they're doing the 50s thing so well, I gotta pick my favorite song as Jailbird, my second favorite on there, which is gotta be the most 50s one. Like they're going all in on the 50s thing on this one.
And they're like making references to sniffing glue, and
which I appreciate.
Just these super like throwback lyrics as well.
Yeah, and the awesome group vocals. That's very throwback to the 50s thing. super simple music. Like the music is not gonna blow you away, but they play it so well that it's just awesome. And it's probably in my opinion, the best sounding record or the best sounding song on the record.
Mm. You think
For
that's because it's like a little slower tempo, and it sounds like they have an
maybe.
acoustic in there a couple
Yeah,
times, and
yeah, they're definitely
gives
it's the
them,
softest song on the record, I would say for sure.
yeah.
Which is weird to say that like your Black and Blue is the most boring song and it's not even the softest one on the record. But yeah, Jailbird, I feel like just had the best sound. I don't know if I mean there were some songs on there, dude, that like I straight up that snare was just like, boy, oh boy, this sounds like worse than Saint Anger type,
it
It sounds like
there
he's banging on a trash can, fucking playing on a
there were a
street light or
couple
whatever.
moments,
Yeah.
couple rough moments, but I tended to overlook that more often than not.
Okay. Well, with that said, what is your favorite song on this album?
My
Your second nug, bro.
second nug is gonna be the last song on the record, Still
Yeah.
Crazy.
Super boppy, man.
Super boppy. There's a couple like I love the tiny little guitar fills they do on parts of this song. It sounds very active.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of going hard in the paint on this one. I love the little outro
Yeah.
they have to kind of end off the record.
Some pretty legit lead guitar work in this song. Like he was doing really good stuff. Like he was showing his chops, I feel like, with the licks and the little solo that he threw in there. Like I liked it.
Yeah, they
And the
were.
synth stuff. I thought they kind of went all in on their closer for the album. Like they kind of played everything that you had heard up until that point and combined the pop punk with the old school, power pop and 70s punk music, and then also the new wave stuff that they were kind of showing you at bits. So
Yeah,
they combined it
yeah.
all for their last song. And I thought that showed a little planning, a little artistry there, picking that as their last one.
I mean, yeah. I would have loved to. I would have loved to see what their second record would have been.
Mm-hmm.
I think they do have like an EP of unreleased tapes that
Do
they
they?
were working on.
Oh
That
man,
came out
is that
3 years
anywhere?
later.
That came out? That was released?
I think so. It's not on YouTube Music, but I found it on like Wikipedia. So it must be out
Shit.
there somewhere. And like Spotify had the first fucking Pharmaceutical Bandits record, so
Yeah, but it's not on Spotify, I'll tell you that much. All that's on there is this one.
somewhere on YouTube. Maybe you got to pirate it off. Go on your Napster account,
I gotta look it up.
find your old Limewire login.
Oh man, I was talking about that shit the other day, dude. The amount of shit I downloaded from Napster and Limewire and Kazzaa and Morpheus.
Oh
Boy.
man, there was something I forgot what it was called. It was none of those. And it was so sketchy. I can't believe my phone didn't just self-destruct after
Download on your
downloading so
phone?
much shit on my phone. It was just my phone.
Oh, that's bad news, dude. All those fucking apps that have like wingdings as their fucking user agreement and their user license, and you're just like, whatever. Yeah, you're gonna give me the latest fucking Lil TJ song for free. Like, I'll take it.
It was weird though. Those websites are where you find some of the most deep cuts. I heard like
Obscure shit. Yeah,
I heard the first performance of Fly By Night on that website. I heard
I'm gonna act like I know
uh
what that is.
the
Dude, Fly
original.
By Night for real? Holy
Yeah,
shit.
Fly By Night, dude, by Rush. You ever
Wow,
heard
wow,
of
wow.
them?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
ever
yeah,
fucking
yeah,
opened your fucking ears and listened to good music?
yeah. Yeah, I've listened to the radio in the last 60 years, so I've heard Rush.
They're on there a couple
Call
times.
me the old guy, and one of your favorite bands is Rush. The fuck out of here.
Whatever. No one's perfect.
You're like, you're old. I have bad taste in music. Like, hey, no
Well,
one's
it
perfect.
kind of balances out a little bit. I heard this version of War Pigs with the demo vocals that they later changed, and my friend got so mad that I had that version instead of the real version because he was like a
Yeah.
die-hard fan for
Wait, is this
whatever
real?
reason. Yeah, I think it was real.
What, the story or the song?
Oh, yeah.
The story's real.
Yeah. He was like a die-hard metal fan, and like he was in the first band where we did Metallica covers and like Megadeth and stuff, and
Okay.
he was like, dude, these aren't the real lyrics. This is some fake shit. And I'm like, no, it's like
It's
some
scratch vocals
lyrics.
or whatever.
It might just be scratch vocals or the original vocals. Ozzy didn't like it. I don't know.
Dude, the amount of times that I covered, or the amount of times I downloaded Sublime playing "No Woman No Cry" and it was just Bob Marley playing it, or the amount of times that there were like copycat songs that you listen to it and you're like, this sounds nothing like Sade. Why is
I
it a man singing? That sounds
I
like a
mean, I
man.
guess I'll just keep it and listen to it 15 times today anyway.
I mean, what
That's
else
what
do
I
you
did.
all the fucking rap albums I downloaded that had all the like I don't even know the Rippers fucking call sign in the song in the like in the middle of the song too. It would be like torrents dot zzz like
They
in the
had the
middle
little
of the song.
audio
I'm like, dude,
watermark.
there's a Thrice album that I only know the version of that album that has all those fucking bullshit call outs in it. So when I bought it on vinyl and I listened to it, I fucking my brain expected those moments to happen. That's how much I've
It's
listened
like it's
higher
like
than music.
listening to White Bronco or something. Like you thought it was a
Right.
part of the music.
Right. Turns out it's just the torrenter that goes by, you know, the Megan Thee Stallion. So they play fucking horse sounds the whole time.
All
All
right.
right,
Well,
man. Well, I think it's time. I think it's time, Brett.
I think you've been trying to
I've been stalling
stall this portion of the
the
podcast where we
inevitable.
rate the album in general
Yeah.
on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being the worst, 10 being best.
Decimal points allowed.
Yep.
Olympic rules.
Olympic rules, we allow
Even
up
on
to
the off
2
years.
decimal points
Up to two.
and up to
You
2
change it every
numbers.
week. All right. All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go first because I want to end on a high note. So you give me your
That's probably
fucking
a good
bullshit
idea.
ass rating first.
Again, I didn't like this album. There are songs I'm going to go back to when I'm in the mood for it, but the whole thing as a piece I didn't enjoy. I thought it was a little too samey.
Ridiculous.
I the songs were extremely catchy, but all
Mm.
in kind of the same way where I couldn't exactly discern what melody I was kind of thinking in my head from one song to another. It
The
doesn't
ignorance is just palpable.
I don't know if I heard the bass the entire song, the entire album.
Production's trash. I'll give it to you.
Um and so I'm
We're
and
banding, dude.
the lyrics are basically
Oh, come on.
garbage.
Oh, come on. All right. All right. Where are we landing with your rating here, guy?
We're gonna land. This is pretty rough.
Oh boy.
Lucas probably won't talk to me until the next episode, and he might not even talk to me then.
Right.
But I'm gonna give this one a 3.6. That is my personal enjoyment of the album.
Oh.
I don't. It seems extremely heralded by critics. I personally don't understand, but
Oh.
I am happy for it.
Wow. Not at all what I thought. I thought we were going to be in the solid sevens with you. I thought we were going to take this home 7.8 maybe.
I wish I was. I listened to this. This is probably the album I've listened to the most times since that Uncle Acid record.
Wow. And you hated that one too. So you
It
really
was the
try even when you think you hate an album, you really force yourself to like really hate it.
I try to take special notice and try to write down
Right.
exactly why I hate it and try to
Right.
justify my reasons when I can.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate your effort because it's funny. I listened to this album a lot when I first heard it 6, 7, 8 years ago. Kind of fell off of it for a long time and hadn't heard it in a few years. So I was really excited to talk about it on this episode. And honestly, the first run through, I was like, shit, oh, this isn't as good as I remember it being. And then every time after that it just got better and better until the point where I finally heard it again today, and I love it, man. I love this record. I think it's really catchy. I think it's very charming. And that's a way for me to politically say that I don't hate the production because I think it's charming how shitty it sounds. The whole
It's
thing.
endearing.
It's endearing.
Yeah.
I thought they know how to write a really good pop song, a really good power pop song. Great guitar work. I love Adam's vocals, the drums, and I changed my EQ to hip hop EQ on Spotify to turn up the bass.
Sure.
So that helped a lot with the production, in my opinion. But Man, I have a special, place in my heart for this album, especially because of the story. I feel like it's just one of those like heartbreaking stories of, people who were just destined to do really good things and they just got robbed of the opportunity, and it adds such a, not to make a pun or anything, but it adds so much of a a lot of romance to the record, of like what could have
Yeah,
been kind
right.
of type of romance. So that adds a lot to it. The mystique around this record, the what if, the what could have been ness around this music and everything. And I feel like this is just such a great uh display to come out with as your first album. So, the being impressed with how good this record is. I remember my first album that I wrote. It was nowhere fucking near this. I'm not saying this is their first album they ever wrote, but I know that these are levels that I never would have achieved, with my music. And
Right.
um, with all that said, man, and being able to go back to it after a few years of not listening to it, and it had to grow on me this time around, which was really interesting. I'm gonna give this, you know, okay. I'm I'm gonna give you two ratings, Brett. I'm gonna give you one rating because of
Okay.
the album just as an album, but I'm gonna give you another rating as an album that I accidentally listened to it on random one time, and it was a way better listening experience.
That first shock, like that first shock rating is what that
Yes, the
that
first time where I was listening, well, it was like probably the third or fourth time or whatever that I listened to the album. I didn't realize I was listening to it on random, and I was like, dude, the first four songs are fucking bangers. And I was like, all right, the fifth one falls off, but then every song after that's great. And then I realized halfway through it, I was like, dude, I'm listening to this on random. Fuck. So the song that is with the songs in the order that they are on the record, I'm gonna give it a 7.6.
Okay.
The songs that were on random in the order that I listened to them, I'm gonna give like an 8.4, dude.
Wow. Okay.
I think there was a different track listing that could have made this album better. As a huge fan of this record.
Is that do you was that
Do I
kind of with the
remember?
most energetic songs at
Yes.
first?
Yes.
And
The catchiest, most energetic songs were the first like 3 or 4 or 5 that played. And then
okay.
it kind of chilled out for a little bit and then it ended strong. The song that it ended with on my random run through was Rumors in Town, which is the sixth song on the record. And it ended
Yeah.
with that song and I was like, damn, they ended strong, dude. They ended with like their new wave track, and then and then that's when I opened it up and I was like, wait, what the fuck? I'm like, oh my God, dude, are you kidding me? And honestly, it made it better. It did.
Well, there are a couple versions of this album around apparently, so you can
It's true.
try out for yourselves, listeners, if you're interested in listening to this. Try out this original version with modern kicks first, still crazy last.
Yeah, and we'll have that's such a cool idea to be like to ask the listeners and for us even as a challenge to be like, what track listing would you have done on this? What track order would you have done on this album? Because I can definitely give my preferred track order. And I would love for people to leave us a comment telling us what their track order on this album would be. Buddies, do you guys like this record? Is this something that you guys even know about? Like, we'll have a link in the description to go listen to this on Spotify and hopefully other places. We'll find the links for other places so you guys can go listen to it. Like, but go listen to the album. Let us know what you guys think. Give us your 2 choice nugs in the comments as well. Follow us on EBP Cast on Instagram. Brett's at Brett Hanrahan. I'm at John Luke Guitard. Give us a subscribe on YouTube, man. Like, we're trying to get up to 100 subscribers, and when we do, there's gonna be a little pasta
Little something
fajoule,
something, little
little
fucking
payola,
little fucking pavlova for
little
you.
pavlova,
Little
little
fucking gnocchi
Pavlovian,
for you,
yeah,
baby.
little potato gnocchi for you if you participate. So tell your friends about our podcast, spread it around, share this shit. Brett, what would you rate this episode?
Well, I'm gonna get this episode 2 ratings. I think in the original order that we did it in, it's like a solid 7.6. If you kind
Right.
of have a program that
With the
mixes up the
edit?
sections every 4 or 5 minutes,
Yeah, with the director's cut.
yeah, then
Yeah.
that's gonna be more of an 8, more of an 8.4.
Okay. Okay, I like it. I like it. I'm gonna give this an 8.4 in general, assuming that both cuts are gonna be as good, right? Because I got confidence in us, man.
Yeah.
You gotta come to the table with a little hubris, you know?
I mean, I'm gonna zoom in as much as I can, Lucas. It seems to be my main editing go-to.
I mean, eventually I'm gonna have to figure out how to do the same thing. So no
Get the
judging here,
close up,
dude.
get the zoom in. They call it the Ken Burns in iMovie.
Ooh, I called it the office Zoom, you know.
Yeah.
But do you know what album we're gonna be listening to on the next episode? I mean, we got almost like 100 episodes at this point, maybe even more. So go back and listen to go back and listen to all the other older episodes that we got. We listened to a lot of different types of music. But Brett, I don't know if you had an album
I
prep
do.
for the
I
next
have one
episode, my
ready
dude.
this week.
Oh
You
my god.
talking about different albums. This one is pretty different. This
Oh,
one is we've been kind of waiting for this one. It is called Hawaii Part 2 by
oh,
Miracle Musical. Oh.
wow. Yeah,
Oh.
full disclosure, I've listened to this album once, only once before, so I don't remember this at all. It
It's
was 2 years
the
ago.
love baby of fucking Tally Hall
Shout
and
out Tally Hall. Come on the
shout
show,
out to
Tally
Tally Hall.
Hall. Come on the show. We want to interview you about
Yo, hit
what
us
was
up.
it?
We know you're
Hawaii Miracle?
watching.
Hawaii Miracle, right?
Hawaii Part 2 by Miracle Musical. It's
Gotta
all
mix
in
it up.
like kanji for some reason, or
Yes, that's true.
hiragana.
That's true. Fucking
Uh
Weeboo or whatever.
this is an interesting one. I this one I'd say y'all listen to it first before you get our reaction. I don't want to spoil anything for
It
you.
is a very musical, theatrical record, but it's electronic and weird and avant-garde and out there at the same time. I'm excited to dive back into this, man. Fuck yeah. Good
All right,
choice.
man.
Good choice.
We'll see y'all on the next episode.
Hey,
Fucking salute!
salute.
Salute!
Salute.